Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back for another session of the Wellness Wednesday. So, today we are going to talk about a very different topic. We are going to talk about um, genetics in response to your diet, in response to your lifestyle. We are going to understand certain terms like epigenetics, and we are also going to talk about, what are some foods that are going to influence your epigenetics, and are you doomed if you have certain genetics for a certain disease, so that's what we are going to talk in today's session. So if you are watching this live, you can say a quick hi. If you are watching this as a replay, and if you have any questions for me, you are more than welcome to put your questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to be back and answer any of the questions that you have. So today's talk mainly is divided into three main parts. We are talking about epigenetics. What exactly is epigenetics? We are going to talk about nutrigenomics. What exactly is nutrigenomics? And we will be talking about your diet and how it is influencing, you know, um, your genes, right? So the simplest thing is, we want to understand genes. So humans approximately have 25,000 genes. We have 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs, and we have multiples of genes, and they are composed of something called DNA. And DNA is composed of four different nucleotide bases. I'm not going to go into the details, but your DNA is what is going to code all your genes, and your DNA is where it will create certain proteins for you. Proteins are necessary for being enzymes in digestion, detoxification, antibodies, certain hormones like insulin, neurotransmitters, etc. So basically genes are going to um, like transcribe different proteins and different elements in the body, and especially these proteins are then going to have different effect on the body. So what exactly is epigenetics? Epigenetics is being on top of the genetics. It's the study of how genes are activated or deactivated by different factors, whether we talk about nutrients, whether we talk about toxins, whether we talk about behaviors, whether we talk about certain emotional states or environmental exposures, without really changing the structure of the DNA. So that's what it means by epigenetics. And epigenetics is like the boss of your genetics, all the instructions of the genes in your body. Your epigenetics is going to really decide how those instructions are going to be used. So think about having a recipe book, right? So your genes are your recipe book, but your epigenetics is going to decide which recipes are going to be cooked and how exactly to cook them. And there are several factors that are going to influence your genes, and environment is one factor. And that is why when we talk about environmental factors and its impact on your health, it is super important. Now people ask me, why are we talking about DNA? Why are we talking about genetics? See, your DNA is extremely important in certain conditions. If there is DNA damage, you could have any and every kind of disease, especially the diseases like cancer, which are very common in today's world, right? Autoimmunity, if your certain genes are switched on or switched off, that can even translate you into getting autoimmunity. So that is why it is extremely important to understand your epigenetics and understand the concept of epigenetics, that your life and your environment have the ability to switch on and switch off the genes. And this is where the first question that I asked about, you're not doomed if you have a certain set of genes. Like if you have a family history of diabetes, type 1, and a lot of people say, oh, it's heredity, it runs in my family. the breast cancer gene BRCA, right? If there is any mutation, so these will predispose you to certain conditions, right? Autoimmunity, if there's a family history, it does predispose you to certain conditions. But predisposition, again, there is a lot of things you can control through your diet and through your nutrition. And that takes me to the second topic of nutrigenomics, right? So nutrigenomics is something that's combining the nutrition with your genetics. So how exactly is the food that you eat interacting with your genes? Can foods alter genes? 100% they can, and that is why we ask everyone to stay away from genetically modified foods. That is why we ask people to stay away from certain omega 6 fatty acids, which are more inflammatory, and vegetable oils like corn oil or soy oil, or especially cottonseed oil, which are very high in omega 6, fatty acids, can damage your genes, can damage your DNA. So this is extremely important to assess what kind of dietary intervention you're having, what kind of nutrition you're having. So it's like you're driving your car, and to drive your car, which is your body, you need fuel every single day, right? If your fuel is clean, it is not going to damage. So if you get the purest kind of gas, the purest kind of fuel, it is not going to damage your car. But if you get a cheap fuel which is not as pure, you are going to definitely damage the car, or the engine is not going to be strong long term. The engine will start giving up. And that is why if you look at high end cars like a Mercedes Benz or a BMW, you only need premium fuel. You can't just go with any basic fuel, right? So similarly, if you put a lot of this basic fuel or cheap fuels in the body, you will end up impacting your DNA. And there are different studies, there are different research papers where even refined fructose, which is the sugar that we consume, the table sugar, will create more oxidative DNA damage, right? So, hyperglycemia, having high blood sugar, especially in conditions like diabetes, can create a lot of damage to the body, right? Genetically modified foods create a lot of damage to the body. Certain things like Roundup, which is a pesticide, can also create a lot of damage to the body. And genes are nothing but light switches, right? So, light switch can go on or off, and what switches them on, what switches them off, are certain dietary components. And that is where we look at nutrition from a very important aspect of protecting our body. Now, for those who are scared of, oh my god, what's happening to my DNA, so remember that every single day in our day-to-day processes that are carried out in the body, all the detoxification reactions, all the biochemical reactions in the body, there are a lot of oxidants that are created, which are known as reactive oxygen species, right? So these also have a capacity to damage your DNA. And that is one of the reasons why we require antioxidants. And not just antioxidants, but there are so many amazing compounds that are found in different foods that can protect your DNA. So your genetics load the trigger, right? But whenever we look at the environment, when we look at everything that's going on, the epigenetics, that's going to pull, like that's going to load the trigger, but your diet and lifestyle is going to pull the trigger, right? So if you have a really poor diet, if you have a really poor lifestyle, that's going to definitely create the disease that you have been predisposed to through your DNA. But if you go for healthy foods, you are going to be able to protect your body against DNA damage. So, what are some foods that can really help protect you against DNA damage? One of my favorites is broccoli. So, not just broccoli, but all cruciferous vegetables have compounds called sulforaphane, indole 3 carbinol. So these are all the compounds found, and they are responsible for detoxifying your body. They can activate the genes that are supporting your liver in detoxification, and also protecting against cancer, especially breast cancer. Then we look at blueberries, which have anthocyanins, which can activate genes which will reduce the inflammation in the body. Salmon contains a lot of omega 3s. So, any omega 3s are studied to switch on genes that will protect your heart health, your brain health, your mood regulation. Even the curcumin in turmeric will activate genes in fighting inflammation and prevents cancer. So, when people start drinking a lot of coffee, a better option is to switch from coffee to green tea. Green tea contains catechins. So there are several different catechins, 4 different varieties. I'm not going to name each one, but they are protective against cancer. They help manage the weight. They're also very important in normalizing your metabolism, especially your blood sugar metabolism. Folic acid that's found in spinach, especially the folate found in spinach, is activating genes that are involved in repairing your DNA and your cellular maintenance as well. Number 7 is garlic. So, garlic contains several organosulfur compounds which are going to activate your genes that are not only responsible for detoxification but boosting your immune system. Olive oil also contains monosaturated fats and polyphenols that can activate your genes associated with inflammation. There are also flavonoids that are found. So, flavonoids are various kinds of compounds. They're also found in something like, what can we say, chocolate, and those are going to really help repair your body. Different mushrooms, one of the things I'm really curious and I'm studying now, especially with the oncology course, is various kinds of medicinal mushrooms. So whether we look at reishi mushrooms, whether we look at chaga mushrooms, lion's mane, they all have something called beta glucans, and that has a protective action on your DNA as well. I think I've already talked about the curcumin. Yeah, so I've already talked about curcumin. I think I have one more left. Uh, Oh, yeah. So just bear with me for a second. I'm just going through my notes. Yeah. Dark chocolate I talked about, olive oil I talked about, and walnuts also have lots of omega 3s, right? So, omega 3s are also super important when it comes to protecting against genetic repair. Um, Especially, foods are super important. So, if there is a history of higher amounts of estrogen, if there is a history of breast cancer or any mutation in the BRCA gene, one thing you could do is start having good amounts of cruciferous vegetable, especially broccoli or cauliflower, cabbage. So that is really going to support your body, clean out this excess estrogens from your system, and these are super important. And then there are various SNPs. I don't know how detailed should I go into in today's lecture. So there are various genetic mutations called SNPs that can also predispose you to certain factors or certain mechanisms in your body not working well, right? So whenever you're looking at food, whenever you're really looking at your genes, the other factor I want you to really consider is your probiotics, right? So, probiotics, when we talk about the DNA repair, probiotics are also super important because there is the study of this oncobiome, which is an emerging field in oncology, which talks about the role of microbiome, how healthy your gut is, and how that is impacting whether you're going to get certain kinds of cancer or not, right? So the microbes, that the bacteria in your gut, they are going to outnumber um, 10 to 1, when it comes to microbes versus the human cell. So you have a lot more microbes in your gut, and they maintain homeostasis, and certain good microbes in the gut, right, are going to support your body, and they are going to also regulate, your immune system, modulate your immune system, train your immune system. They are going to influence the metabolism of different foods. They're also going to synthesize certain vitamins, especially B vitamins like B12 and tetrahydrofolate, which are super important for repairing your damaged DNA. You need B12, you need folate to repair your DNA, and that is why you require good amounts of healthy gut bacteria. So always making sure that you are protecting your gut bacteria as well, right? So not having any GMO foods, not having high sugar diets, not overusing antibiotics, not over sanitizing constantly, using antibacterial hand washes and body washes and all of those are going to deplete your microbiome, and then feeding your microbiome as well. So something like leeks is super important to feed your microbiome. And this microbiome, whether even though your inherited genes are fixed, epigenetics allows gene expression to vary widely because of different people. And what you are eating is not just going to your digestive tract, not just getting formed into your body cells, but every single day, every food that you put in your body is also impacting your DNA. Every day, through lots of reactions in the body, we go through DNA damage. So if you incorporate the foods I talked about, that is going to support your body repair the DNA, and that will minimize your chances of getting various diseases, even though you are genetically predisposed to it, even though they're hereditary for you. And that will also minimize your chances of getting immune conditions like cancer or autoimmunity. So that is the talk for today. I know it is a little heavy topic. I don't know. I can see some of you watching this live. So if you have any comments or questions, or if you include any of the foods that I was talking about today, please let me know. I can see some people live. Yeah. Yeah. So make sure you're eating to support your genes. Make sure you're eating to, repair your DNA. Make sure you're eating to fuel your body, to fuel your mind, and really support you to the core, right? Don't just pick up foods that are temporarily giving you pleasure, but that are detrimental to your health in the long term. So, that is something to understand. And that is something I wanted to elaborate why today's topic. Thank you all for watching. If you have any further questions, just put it in the comments and I'll be back. Thank you. Bye for now.